I'm Dr. Jill Johnson. I've spent my entire career in education. I started in the classroom, then trained teachers, and most recently served as a high school administrator. Now I help highlight the stories, struggles, and successes in educating the next generation of content creators. Welcome to CGTV.
Everybody get settled. And we're just going to experiment and explore with generative AI today. So how many of you have tried out generative AI, which would be like ChatGPT? Yes, raise it high so we can see. So some, but not too many. Oh, yeah. Do you love it? Yeah. So we're going to look at just 3 tools today, but I've also got a couple of other tools we won't play with today, but I'm going to make sure you have access to them for later, so you'll have a lot of fun with some of those. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I feel like either I'm short or I'm not sure here. So I'm a professor at Doane University. Does anybody know Doane University in Nebraska? And College of Business, and I'm a speaker and consultant, and I talk a lot about artificial intelligence and emerging technology like VR and AR and things like that. And also teach organizational leadership and change, and that's always important when you're trying to get something like AI adopted, because I don't know about you, but some schools I know are banning AI, right? So we need to work on change and embracing the positive side of AI. So I am a dog mom, very proudly, of Sterling and Levi. And Sterling is named after a Scotland town, because I lived in Scotland, so he's named after a village. It's one of my favorite places. And then Levi's named for his blue eyes. So what I've done today, later, I'll show you some Gen AI artwork I made about the dogs. So my why is that I'm really passionate about supporting people's potential. And I love to teach and to just support change. And I don't care if the student is 10 or 80. I love growth in everyone. And I always feel like it's never too late and it's never too early. So just remember that. It doesn't matter. If you're 80 years old and you want to start a new career, go for it. So today we're just going to work on image prompting and structured text prompting. So we're going to look at 2 different ways that you can create what you want to create with Gen AI. If you just use Gen AI the way it comes, it doesn't usually give you very good results. So we're going to talk about ways that you can really customize it and make it work for you, okay? We're also going to collaborate to create social content visuals and text content as well. So you'll be able to have Gen AI work with you to help your social media content go a little bit faster. It's like having a partner on your creative team. And we're going to just look at 3 tools today. One is the Google Notebook LM, which is in its experimental phase. It only came out a few weeks ago, so it's very, very new. And it is not very well developed yet, but I'll show you a little bit about how it works right now, and we can only imagine in a few months how much better it will be. And then we're going to look at PlayLab. And PlayLab is a tool built specifically for educators in high schools and colleges to create custom agents to work with their students. So PlayLab, I'll give you a link, and your teachers at your schools can actually get involved with PlayLab for free and bring that into your school as well. And then we're going to look at Ideogram. An Ideogram is a visual image generation tool. So we'll look at how we create cool images. So these are the 3 tools that we'll look at, as I just talked about. And I'm just going to dive right into some Gen AI. So Google Notebook LM is an interesting tool. It does a whole lot of things, but one of the things it does is it takes anything that you upload to it, like a document or a YouTube link or a URL, and it turns it into a podcast. So I wanted to play for you a little bit of a clip I created from our agenda today. So I took what was happening today off the website and I uploaded it into Google Notebook and let it create a podcast.
Ever get that feeling? Like schools are only showing their highlight reel.
Oh, absolutely. The perfect test scores, the big game wins, everyone's always smiling.
Yeah, exactly. But what about the everyday stories? You know, the stuff happening in classrooms, hallways, even the cafeteria.
The real stuff.
Exactly. That's what we're diving into today, the power of those untold school stories. And we've got some really cool insights from Class Intercom, this platform that's all about helping schools share those authentic narratives.
Yeah, and it's not just about like posting a feel-good story here and there. There's actual educational research behind this. Amplifying the voices of students and staff, it can completely change a school's culture.
Okay, so let's break that down. Class Intercom, they're big on letting students and staff tell their own stories.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
Well, it boils down to two things: authenticity and engagement. I mean, think about it. We are just bombarded with these polished narratives day in and day out. But when you hear directly from a student, maybe they're struggling with algebra, or even a janitor who, let's be honest, probably knows everyone's name.
Right, those unsung heroes.
Exactly. That's what builds trust and connection. It feels real, you know?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like we're getting a peek behind the curtain. And for a student to see their work shared and valued by their whole school community, that's got to be powerful.
It is. Studies show that students whose work is shared publicly are something like 20% more likely to feel like they belong in their school. It's incredibly empowering. And they're building essential skills along the way: digital citizenship, responsible sharing on a public platform. That's real world stuff you can't get from a textbook.
Now, you keep saying authenticity, and I love that, but I gotta ask, are we just talking about warm, fuzzy feelings here? Are there like actual tangible benefits? Because the Class Intercom video did mention schools using it to, boost their social media following, which, hey, that's smart.
It goes way beyond likes and shares. When schools share those everyday moments alongside the big events, it creates this much richer, more complete picture of what they're doing. Parents feel more connected, taxpayers see how their money is making a difference, and the whole community feels invested in the school's success.
I remember that part in the video. They talked about a school that actually used storytelling to rally support for like real needs they had.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about: transparency and building relationships. Authentic storytelling can lead to very tangible support: volunteers, funding, just a stronger sense of community in general.
Now, I love this whole idea of student empowerment, but it did get me thinking, how does Class Intercom make sure this new voice doesn't end up hurting the school's image? Are there safeguards in place?
That is where moderation comes in. That's super important. Class Intercom, they really emphasize checks and balances. So students and staff can draft content, work together, get feedback, all of that. But before anything goes public, it goes through a review process.
So it's about finding that balance, empowering students without giving up oversight, right?
Exactly. You've got it. Celebrate student voices for sure, but the school still maintains some control to make sure everything is appropriate and accurate.
Yeah.
It's finding that sweet spot,
This whole conversation makes you realize this isn't just about schools, is it? This idea that we need to give diverse voices a platform, let them share their authentic stories that feels relevant everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. You know how the saying goes. Everyone has a story to tell. And in a world where we are just drowning in information,
And let's be honest, it's information overload out there.
it really is. Those human stories, those are the ones that cut through all the noise. It doesn't matter if it's a school, a business, even within our own families. When we make space for authentic storytelling, we build connections. We start to understand each other in a way that nothing else can replicate.
It's such a powerful idea that everyone has a story worth telling, and those stories, they can really shape our communities. So I guess my question for everyone listening is, what stories are waiting to be told in your world?
Okay, what do you think about that? Was that interesting? So that required nothing but uploading just the content from the agenda off the website today, and that was totally AI generated with 2 voices that were completely AI. No human intervention other than my upload. So that's also the experimental release from Google. So we always say this is the worst AI you'll ever use. So you guys are so fortunate because as you grow older, you're going to get to work with some of the most exciting AI in the world ever. So that's the fun part. It's only going to get better from here. But we'll also talk about ethics and bias and other issues too that we have to be careful about, right? So let's keep moving forward. In that vein, we want to talk about bias that's already in generative AI. So generative AI is built based on a lot of data sets that were produced by a fairly small group of technology companies. And so those data sets aren't really as robust and diverse as we would hope they would be. So a lot of times if I put in a prompt, I'll get out one kind of stereotype of what a person they think should look like, right? So we have to work hard to try to make it more diverse and look like us, and whatever that is. And so we have to teach AI and train AI to have less bias and more diversity in its output. And so we're also going to look at two kinds of text prompting. One is spontaneous, and some of you may have used that, where you just type in something in ChatGPT and you get something out. Has anybody ever done that spontaneous kind? Yep. And then there's a different kind, and that's really where you start to take the driver's wheel and control AI and have it be more of a help to you versus you just sort of being at the mercy of whatever it decides it wants to put out. And that's called structured or scaffolded prompt development. And so when you use structured or scaffolded prompt development, you can use inclusive language that helps you create the outcome that is more representative of yourself, your audience, and others you're trying to communicate with. You want to write neutral prompt instructions and questions, and we'll look at a little bit what that looks like shortly. And you want to balance perspectives and voices and images and environments and situations. So you want to experiment with all kinds of different ways that our environments look, because not everybody who goes to school in a place like you do, or they don't come to a place that's so nice like this, right? They have a different life. So we want to represent them as well. So here's an example of mitigating bias. On the left is a simple prompt that basically says, explain why technology in education is useful. And so that's a common prompt. People put in just like one sentence, and then they want this great outcome, but they don't really get what they want. But on the right, you can see there's a lot more detail. So let's look at that one. And it says, what are the different viewpoints on the advantages and disadvantages of technology in education from teachers, students, and parents in different regions? Because in the first one, you can see we're assuming that technology is useful, right? So then AI is going to go, oh, it's useful, so let me tell you all the ways it's useful. And it doesn't actually look at it from a bigger perspective, right? And say, actually, there's disadvantages and advantages. So you have to remember you're in the driver's seat with AI, and you'll kind of get out what you put in. So that's why you want to gain skills in what's called prompt engineering, because that helps you get out what you need to get out from it more quickly and effectively. So I know that afterwards they're going to send all of this out to you, so don't worry about getting it right now. But there's a handout that I'll have for you called Prompt Engineering Scaffolding. And basically it's really simple. You start with what is the role? Like, who is this person AI needs to be? For example, it might be you're a 16-year-old student in such and such high school in the Midwest, and I want you to be an expert in social media for Instagram, and you can get really specific to tell AI what it needs to be for you. And so then it'll go find that information, and it'll be your expert partner for you in that way. And you can ask it, to focus on a target audience. Again, that's where we talk about getting that inclusivity and making sure that we've got everybody included. And then you can talk about different characteristics and preference and needs of this persona. So let's keep moving. So I'm going to look behind the scenes at structured AI prompting and how this looks. I created an AI agent for you to use later today, and I think Abby's going to help me soon out here. And this is kind of the behind the scenes look at the agent I created. So I said, you're a social media content generation expert, and you're going to collaborate with high school students to create engaging social media content focused on their school activities and achievements. And these high school students are working in teams to enhance school spirit and community engagement through social media. So I kept it kind of simple, but you could even get more complicated than that. And then I created a workflow. And that other handout that you will have access to will help you walk through that workflow. So you'll learn how to do that step by step. So I'm going to pop out and have Abby come up and help me now. I'll log back in. So this, I'll tell them a little bit about it first, and then you can go. So she's just going to help me here and be used. So you guys can shout out too for her. So on the screen, you're going to see some instructions, and this is what the custom AI agent looks like through PlayLab. And so this is something your teachers or you could set up in your school. And it says that this social media content is your creative partner, and it's going to partner with you to create and generate social media posts and AI visual image generation descriptions, because it only does text. But you can take those descriptions and put them into an AI generator like Ideogram, which we'll look at, and then it'll create the images for you. So she's going to hit start. And it says, welcome, I am your social media content creative partner. Let's get started. Which school are you creating social media content for? Oh my gosh. It's okay. It's hard to type when you're... So let's see what it says. Somebody want to read that out for me? Jump in there, Abby's team. Can you see it? Okay. Oh, she went basketball? So it says, great. What event or achievement or story would you like to highlight from Friend Public School? Is there a specific title for this event? So what is it? State goal. Okay. So it says, awesome. Highlighting the state golf event is a fantastic idea. Now, which social media platforms are you targeting for this content? Which do you want to focus on? Instagram, Facebook? Instagram, all right. Perfect. Instagram's a great choice for showcasing visual stories. Let's dive into the content planning. What do you want your audience to feel or do after seeing your post about the state golf event? This will help us set the right tone and the call to action. So what do you want them to feel or do? Anybody can shout out too. Help Abby out. Who is your primary audience, and what type of message will resonate with them? So is it your high school? Mm-hmm. You can put that in there. So it's going to give some suggested hashtags. Do you like any of those? You can tell it, no, I'm fine. You can just say, these are good. You can say, nope. All right, there it goes. So if you scroll down, you'll start to see this is your post, and this is your structure. Okay, so it's created a post. Can you see this? It says, swinging into success. It's got some emojis. At the State Golf Championship, congratulations to our incredible players from Friend Public School for showcasing skill, spirit, and sportsmanship on the greens. Your dedication and hard work have made us all proud. Let's keep the momentum going and aim for the top. And it's put in all of the hashtags that she chose. And then it's going to explain to you the structure and the explanation for why it created that social media post that way. So we'll just scroll down a little bit so you can see that. And now it's asking you, hey, let's create some compelling visuals to pair with this message. So let's create a visual. What do you think? You want to make something up? What would you like? So you can just like what colors, what objects, what setting.
Let's do it again.
Okay. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay. So you can just say, yes, I'd like, you can say, yes, I'd like a description for an image. okay. It'll actually correct you, so it's nice.
Description of an image.
For an image, because we're going to take that and we're going to put that over it. Okay. Okay. So Abby has now created an image description for her Instagram post. So we're going to go over and see if we can get Ideogram to create that for us. Now, I will say Ideogram can take a little bit of time, especially when it's away from home on a different internet. So we'll see what happens. And I'm just going to let it go to the default, so we'll see what it creates for us. It could take a couple of minutes, so. Oh, it's going pretty quick. Not too bad. So you can see it trying to start rendering. There we go. So, what do you think about that? Do you like that? Mm-hmm. So here's the different. So you can kind of just click through and see the first four that it created. Which one do you like? You'll notice something interesting too. One of the things about Gen AI is it's not perfect. Is that spelled correctly? Right now, a lot of Gen AI image creation creates text mistakes. So there's some that are a little bit better about that than others. So sometimes you might have to edit this just a little bit, or just choose one that doesn't have any text in it, and then you're pretty good to go. But just always watch your text. So maybe you like
Probably the first one.
this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So Abby likes this one, so then she could take this and just download it and then put it into her social media post, and she's ready to go. So what do you think? Is that a little bit faster and more helpful than maybe trying to hash it out all by yourself? Yes? Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Give Abby a round of applause. So let's talk about image prompting. Be specific. So always use at least 3 descriptive words, and try not to use the words like generate or create, because those are sort of wasted words. It knows it needs to do that. So you want to make your words count. Be direct. Write simple, clear language with a subject and descriptors. For example, you'll see my images in a minute. I wrote, I wanted a sable and white rough collie, which is like a lassie, if any of you know what that is. And then be original. You might say it's softly lit by moonlight, or sunlight is streaming through the window panes, or you're hiking through what's called the Kerrang, which is a particular area of the Scottish Highlands. So the more descriptive you are, the more interesting your images will be. And then you can be empathetic. Use words to describe the mood. Maybe it's joyful, or maybe it's melancholy, maybe it's lonely, or maybe it's happy. So just always include those words too to help AI understand kind of what you're going for. So here's an image I created. This is a place I have actually hiked with Sterling, and I thought it didn't do too bad. This was the first go, and it looks a bit like my dog, doesn't it? And so this is watercolor and realistic, so that's one that AI generated. And then this is my other dog, Levi. So I thought, well, you know what? It didn't do a bad job. And I did it from the back because it's easier for AI to do it without the facial features than it is to do it from the front right now. So I wanted to show you, though, some of the downsides of Gen AI. So this is an actual picture of Sterling in the Kerrang in Scotland. And then I asked Gen AI to try to take that photo and recreate it. And here's what it did. He's no longer a dog. So Gen AI is not perfect. So you always have to watch your inputs and your outputs. So it decided that he was a cow. So it's not going to be perfect, and just remember that it's getting better, but you'll have to do some work to try to get it where you want it to be. And you can see it creates the more stylized images better than it does realistic images, for example, right? So Here, if you have your phones, you can get that QRL code, and that'll bring up Ideogram for you, so you can grab that with your phones. Everybody got it? Nope, not yet. Okay. And if you, I'll come back to that too if you need to catch it again. So if you didn't, that's fine. So as you kind of go into the 2:30 to 3 o'clock time frame and you're working on some things, I'll be around. I've got a couple of other of my professors around too who are using AI a lot in their areas as well. But think about how could these generative AI tools help you create social media content that's more inclusive, that's more representative of what you need, and then identify important steps or things to think about when you're developing your prompts that mitigate bias, right? So you want to always think about how to have it be inclusive so everyone feels that they're represented in your work. So I want to leave you with something as you think about your future, is that things are changing, and technology skills are not the only skills really needed out there right now. So right now, the changing world is requiring thoughtful, curious, and students who are skilled at navigating change, because everything's going to change all the time, probably for the rest of your lives. So those kinds of skills are highly valued in whether you start your own business or you end up working for someone. So even if you just get tech skills, you also want to get these other types of development and character skills, because AI is pretty much kind of a B+ student right now, and you want to be the A in your life, right? So you need to develop yourself in more ways than just using this as a crutch. You want to be able to master it, okay? And so I'll leave you with this, is just what will you create with AI? So think about that. And then if you need to get a hold of me, this is my QR code for my contact information. Thank you so much.